This is KM Weiland, and you're listening to the 131st episode of the Wordplay Podcast. We've been having a relatively mild winter here in western Nebraska, but it's still too cold for my tastes. I am determined to stay warm this winter, so I've been adding to my writing uniform. In addition to my lucky fuzzy blue writing slippers, I'm adding fingerless gloves, a fleece hat, scarves, sweaters, and Toasty Toes, these warm little packets you stick in your shoes. I'm thinking all that should hold me over until summer. I'm finally caught up on all the projects that didn't get done in December, and I'm enjoying clocking some serious mileage on the big projects staring me down, namely editing and rewriting. I'm still having a lot of fun with Dreamlander's rewrite. Just reached my 25% edit, which is demanding its own set of adjustments, including cutting a few chapters that have become irrelevant. As soon as that's out of the way, I can power on to the inciting event. 2 surefire symptoms of a static character. The latest post in the video series on my blog points out the pitfalls of characters who fall short of dynamism and reveals 2 ways to diagnose how you're doing with your character. You can watch the video on my blog at wordplay-kmweiland, that's weiland.blogspot.com. New videos are posted every Wednesday. And now, I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast, How I Learned to Write and How You Can Too. You know that moment when, in the middle of a brilliant novel, you drop the book into your lap, stare at the ceiling, and wonder why God chose to gift this novelist with effortless talent, while you're left slogging in the trenches of writer's block and clunky sentences? I doubt many of us haven't encountered this feeling that the truly gifted writers pop into the world with fully formed writing genius. Fortunately, it's just that, a feeling. There isn't a writer on the planet who hasn't had to learn his craft and pay his dues. The writing craft is a learning curve for all of us. Even the Margaret Atwoods and Stephen Kings had to log their time as frustrated, fearful authors who had no idea what they were doing. So how did they learn to write? How did they go from clunky to confident? Not long ago, a reader emailed me suggesting a post in which I describe how I learned to write. While I certainly haven't reached a writing level anywhere close to masters such as Atwood and King, today I'd like to share with that reader, and the rest of you, some of the major catalytic moments in my writing journey. I read widely. Writers have to be voracious bookworms. Read everything you can get your hands on, good and bad, until you gain a panoramic view of the literary scenery. I read the classics. I've made it a goal to read all the classics before I die. At the rate I'm going, I figure it'll take me 42 more years. Some of the classics are great. Dickens is a favorite, some are torture. Faulkner's A Fable was pretty much a kill-me-now moment. But in dedicating myself to reading the avowed greats from a tremendous range of authors, cultures, and time periods, I've broadened my horizons as both an author and a person. I read my genre. I probably don't have to tell you this, even though someone had to tell me. If you write mysteries, read every whodunit you can get your hands on. Fantasy? Paw through all the Lord of the Ring knockoffs in your library. Learn what makes them work, what's been done to death, and how to mimic their brilliance. I read how-to books. This one was a major turning point for me. I'd happily written 3.5 novels before even realizing there was such a thing as writing how-to books. Prior to this, I'd written entirely on the instinct gained from the osmosis of my bookworm habits. After this, I realized there was actually a process to writing stories. Suddenly I went from winging it to working my way toward an understanding of the craft. I listened to critters. From the start, when I wrote one-page stories as a 12-year-old, I always had someone edit my writing, and I always listened. Feedback from unbiased readers is crucial to understanding the effect our writing has upon other people. Feedback from experienced writers is crucial in learning how to improve so we can achieve that desired effect. I took a writing course. I signed up for Writer's Digest's correspondence course, Fundamentals of Fiction. By this point in my journey, I pretty much understood the fundamentals, so the course didn't teach me oodles so much as it granted me the confidence to go forth with what I'd already learned. I subscribed to magazines. Round about the time I discovered writing how-to books, I also discovered writing magazines. I've been an avid subscriber to Writer's Digest and The Writer for more than a decade. Having them drop into my mailbox every month means I'm always reading something about the craft, even when I don't have a bookmark between the pages of a how-to book. I joined a writing forum. Next to discovering the writing how-to books, Probably the greatest epoch in my writing journey was gingerly crawling through the internet to find suitable writing groups. I've been a member of several over the years. ChristianWriters.com remains my favorite, and the daily contact with writers of every skill level has been a huge factor, not only in improving my writing, but also in gaining confidence and learning about the business end of the craft. I figured out my process. Thanks to the combination of everything listed above, I was able to figure out and streamline the writing process that worked best for me. I listened to my gut, paid attention to what worked and what didn't, and ruthlessly streamlined activities that were so much dead weight. Nowadays, I have a comfortable process that involves extensive outlining, researching, writing, and revising, and a daily schedule that lets me warm up and keeps me from procrastinating. I made writing a priority. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, I made writing a priority early on, and I stuck with it. Save for the too sick to get out of bed days and catastrophes such as flooded basements and orphaned kittens, I disciplined myself to write 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, year-round. And that makes all the difference. So there you have it. This list isn't exclusive and certainly won't be every writer's path to success. But this is what has worked for me. This is the path I've taken so far in my writing journey. Where the road turns next, of course, I have no idea. But that's the fun of it. Thank you for listening to the Wordplay Podcast. To read a transcript of this episode, visit me on the web at wordplay-kmwyland, that's weiland.blogspot.com, and be sure to listen again next week.